Hi, my name is Katy Newcomb, and welcome to U.S. History Accelerated. A little bit about myself. I have been teaching at LT now for over 22 years. In fact, I met my husband here way back when. Let me show you him. He's actually another teacher here in our department, and we have three children, a junior here at LT, a freshman, and a seventh grader. And I feel like, becoming a parent, this school has seen me through um, a lot of my adulthood. And as I've come into motherhood, I've really seen my students in a different way. They're your sons and daughters. It's given me, watching my own kids struggle with school, a sense of what I need to do as a teacher to help be a better teacher to your sons and daughters. And so let me tell you about this course. We've thought a lot about how and why we do what we do over this pandemic. And in the past 6 months, I've thought a lot about how we teach this class. And I encouraged my colleagues, and we're all on board to really approach this year, the curriculum, in a thematic way. And in doing so, we will be looping through history 6 times, which will deepen students' understanding of history and certainly help them see these sectors of historical themes throughout. I've told your sons and daughters it's not going to be easy the first unit or two as we are just beginning, but by the end of the second unit, beginning of the third, things are going to really click as they remember, oh, right, 1800s westward expansion. Of course, there would be a conflict over slavery as states are being added to the United States, right? So they'll see those connections. So what might a thematic approach look like for a particular unit? This gives us a sense. So there's always a probing question that really focuses our learning. What has been the understanding of American democracy and what should it be, right? So we're always critically analyzing it. During the colonial period, how was it shaped? How was it expanded as we expanded westward? What happened when it was challenged, when our democracy was challenged with reform movements like abolition and women's rights movement in the 1800s and the Civil War? And what happened to our democracy in the 20th century? How did we express our democracy in the 20th century? And throughout each unit, students will be developing these three skills: identify and explain, analyze, and evaluate. And they will be doing so in formative assessments as well as summative. So formative, that's just practice, and summative. Sometimes there'll be multiple formatives, especially of identify and explain, right? To make sure we're reading and we understand the content, right? And then how do we kind of put it together and show those connections is the analysis, and then evaluate that highest form of, can we make a judgment using evidence from history, shows real understanding of history. And so it is to be expected that there would be outside of class of the 35-minute Mondays and the 75-minute Tuesdays and Thursdays, approximately an hour and a half to 3 hours of work, depending on the week. And certainly the level of engagement your son or daughter has during those minutes that we have together in our synchronous lessons will absolutely determine the level of success that they can have on these assessments. So having the camera on and really engaging in those breakout rooms and having your book and a notebook and finding different ways to really study and learn, I think especially in history, is so important. This is the textbook that they have, and they can write in it, and I encourage that. Annotating, highlighting, and we don't read all of it. So those sections that we do, I really want them to pay attention to and circle keywords and really engage with the text as they're reading it. And then it would be common to take a quiz on Canvas that would not count towards the beginning of a unit, right? And then a larger summative that would count towards the end. So today, the day I'm filming this, Wednesday, September 2nd, is their first summative assessment that opens at 3 o'clock today. And so they'll always have a 24-hour window of time to take that. And the idea is that, obviously we have our book and we have our notebook when we're taking a summative, but if we haven't studied those concepts and been doing the assigned work all along, and we're looking things up for every single question, we're going to run out of time, because each of the assessments that are multiple choice, summative, there is a time frame, and actually even on the shorter writing, there will be a time frame within which they'll have to finish it. So you'll see on Infinite Campus assignments that are labeled formative that don't count, and then the assignments that are labeled summative that will, and all of the assignments will be associated with one of these 3 skills. All right, but I'm just letting you know that at the beginning here, you'll see a lot more identify and explain, a little bit of analysis. Then by our second unit, we'll be getting into evaluation summatives. We'll be practicing it during the first unit. Okay, and then as their historical skills develop, they will be using these words in their writing and in their analysis of examining the significance and the cause-effect of events, the multiple perspectives that events have. I actually would like to take us over to my Canvas page to show you that and let you know that you can become an observer on your son or daughter's Canvas page so that you're always able to see what's going on. And at the beginning here, at the top, it's kind of small font, but there's a PDF version of this. It's easier to read deeper in the calendar. We see democratic values. Justice requires 16 democratic values coming into conflict. And so we began on August 20th together looking at some of the conflicts over the past 6 months and really thinking about how can we look at 2 sides, multiple perspectives of these conflicts. And that was actually their first assignment. How does conflict over a current issue really reflect America's democracy? To be able to note 2 perspectives and then associate a value, a democratic value with each side. And I think that'll make us all better critical thinkers when we think in terms of multiple perspectives, and we're really able to we don't have to say whether or not we agree with each one, but we are able to actually explain each side's point of view by connecting it to a democratic value. And so this gives you a sense of how the course is organized in terms of daily activities during those gold days that we're together, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then the homework that is assigned. And so attendance is required on those Zoom calls, but when something happens, they have to step away. They always know they can look and see what we're working on here. And I also want to encourage, in terms of help, for you to encourage your sons and daughters to please reach out to me to meet during that Vita Plana time. So Tuesday through Friday, 7:45 to 8:45, I will be reaching out to students that I can tell are struggling, and I encourage you to tell your sons and daughters to please reach out to me too, because that is a real advantage to have that time together. And so just to give you a small sampling of kind of what a analytical activity might look like in a 75-minute Zoom, I did examine, and they were able to blow this up on their screens too, because I know the font is very small. These are ships lists from the 1600s, one heading to Virginia, one heading to New England. And so they were quickly able to discern that the one heading to Virginia is comprised of almost entirely men, and that the one heading to New England is comprised of families. And so then from there, well, how did that impact the level of democracy in those areas where we saw those who were men? They had read about the Chesapeake and Jamestown and knew that was a settlement that was created in order to make a profit, in order to find gold. And so that definitely influenced the way that colony developed, and you can see that based on who went. Whereas in New England, we see religion and escaping religious persecution being the reason for settlement, and that was the reason why we see families. And so they were able to kind of put that together, and that as we study a theme over time, over the unit, they will be challenged to note events and aspects of society in America throughout the time frames that both made America more democratic or limited America's democracy, right, as they go. So they'll be critically analyzing that theme's development. And then I also wanted you to know, those 75 minutes, they can be long. And so I always will let my students know this is how we're planning to spend our time. I always give a break in the middle, because it's a long time to stay engaged and to look at the screen. So I hope that gave you a sense of who I am, what this course is, how the grading works, and how I am trying to maintain a strong interest engagement with U.S. history, even in a remote setting. Thank you for watching.